Okay, welcome back everyone for round two on this beautiful Sunday evening. And as you know, we are getting ahead because of my special share tomorrow night, the annual Q&A at Irgun Shirei Torah. So we will not have a daf tomorrow night, but rather there will be a share. If you are around the area, Avenue J and East 29th on the corner, come and join us. It'll be wonderful to see you. I will try to record it on Kol Haloshen if you want to listen to it live on Kol Haloshen, and I will try to I will put it on my digital recorder as well, and eventually we will have the video of it also as it gets provided by TorahAnytime.com.
9 p.m., correct?
9 p.m. Now, Amar Chizkiah, we want to have a source for the fact that an altar is not nullified unless you damage the majority of its stones. So Amar Chizkiah Mikra, what's the pasuk for this? So it says, B'sumoy kol avnei mizbeach, when you render all the stones of the mizbeach ke'avnei gur menufatzos, like ground up chalk, then lo yakumu, it cannot be used anymore for those that worship Asherim v'chamonim, for those that worship Asherim, idolatrous tree, and idols of the sun. And therefore, it says kol, but kol means arrive, because ruba kulai. If it's like ground up chalk, lo yakumun Asherim v'chamonim, it won't be used anymore by the ones who worship trees and sun. Ilav yakumu. If not, they still offer things upon them, and they will remain forbidden. Tana Rabbanan, nevad, an animal that was worshipped. Now, this is a live animal. Now, although a live animal can't become asur as Avoda Zara, it's an animate object, but it does become forbidden to the Mizbeach. So nevad shelo asur, if it's worshipped, if it's your own animal, it's asur. V'shel chaveiroi mutar, but if you worship somebody else's animal, it's permitted. That's the normal rule of ein adam oiser davar she'eino shaloi. You can't ask for something that's not yours. Reminu ezer neved kol she'oivden oisai, when it's worshipped, bein b'shoigeg, bein b'mezid, whether unwittingly, whether willfully, bein b'oinus, whether with coercion, bein b'ratzon, whether willingly. Now, mezid and ratzon is the same. But what's the case of an oinus? That it becomes forbidden for the mizbeach if it's done by force. Lav kegoin the onas behemes chaveirav v'ishtachav aloi, doesn't mean if you forcefully bow down to the animal of your friend. So you see that you could ask for something that's not yours. It's talking about we're going to force you to bow down to your own animal. Says the Gemara, but Maskevah Rabbi Zera, if you are forced to bow down to your own animal, oinus rachmana patre. The Torah exempts an oinus. Dichsiv v'lanara lo yisasa davar. We don't do anything to the maiden if she was violated. We don't do anything to her. She was in the field and nobody could hear her screams. Elama Rava hakol hayu b'chlal lo yisa avdein. Everything is included that you shouldn't worship, even if you were forced. However, it says that you have a mitzvah to live. It's v'lo yishayamus b'hem, and therefore you're not chayiv to give up your life. But v'hader kasser achmana v'leisichalu Hashem kachay. You should never profane Hashem's name. Even against your will, you have to give up your life. If it's in private, so there's no chil Hashem, then v'chai b'hem. But if it's in public, you would have to give up your life. And therefore, if you don't, and you bow down to your own animal, you answer it for the Mizbeach. Amalei Rabbanan l'Rava, Tanya the Messiah. We have a raya to Rava. Bimusyoi shel oivdei kechavim b'shas gezeira. Pedestals that were put up at the time of the decree to worship idolatry. Afal pisha gezeira b'teila, even though the decree was nullified, oisan bimusyoi loibatlu. They didn't become nullified. Why? Because even though we were forced to do it, but since it was in public, it makes it forbidden. That's no proof. Because maybe it's also because there were Yisrael Mummer that did it willingly. And when Yisrael Mummer have there were renegade Jews, upalach labaratzen, and they bowed down willingly, and that's why they asked it. Rav Ashi says it's not even a maybe. Loitema Eimer Elavada Yisrael Mumar Hava. They were renegade Jews of Palach Leibaratza. Now, Chizkiah says there's another way that the animal could become awesome. Chizkiah Eimer Kigan Shenisech Lavoidis Kechavim Yayin Al Karneha. It's talking about where the guy poured wine on the horns of the animal to an idol. Says the Gemara, no. That's not going to make it awesome. Because Maskvar Adabarava, Hai Nevadu, that's not being worshipped. Hai Bimasu Baalmahu, that's just using it as like a base. In other words, as like an accessory, as a Mishamshe Avoda Zara, the Shavya, and that doesn't become also to the Mizbeach. Says the Gemara, no, the guy poured wine on the horns of the animal to the animal itself. The difference is even though normally you can't access something that's not yours. Even though normally you cannot access something that's not yours, just 1 second, Rabbi Say. Shashi, could you shut off, blow out the candle? It's like sucking the oxygen in the room. And also I'll take some more water, if you don't mind. Excuse me, everybody. Says the Gemara, and once you do a maisa with it, thank you. Once you do it, maybe even put on the air conditioner. Once you do a maisa with it, it becomes forbidden, even though it's a davar she'eina shaloi. And the Gemara brings a proof to this. If you bow down to somebody else's animal, you don't aser it. But if you do an action to it, you aser it. Amalu Rav Nachman, Puku v'imr le'ula, go out and tell Ula, Far tirgama Rav Huna l'shmaitzech b'bav. Rav Huna already interpreted along these lines like you're teaching in Bava. If your friend's animal is crouching in front of an Avoda Zara, once you slaughter even one siman, whether the food pipe, whether the windpipe, asra. So you see that even though ein adam oisa davar she'ein shaloi, but if you do a maisa, this is a big chiddush, it asks it.
Just for the mizbeach or asks it forever?
Just for the mizbeach. So says the Gemara, where do we learn this from? Where do we learn this from? Wow, it's really something. It's only 9:19 and we're going on a blot and a half already. That's really siyata d'shmaya. Really siyata d'shmaya. Minalon da asra. Where do we know that it's asra? Ilema mikehanim. If you'll say that we know it from kehanim, that means that kohanim that worship in a church were not allowed anymore to do it in the Beis Hamikdash. That's different. They have a mind of their own. We know it from the stones that the Syrian Greeks were meshakets. Remember, we said that they had to be put away in the northeastern chamber of the Beis Hamikdash. But there again, it's different because v'dilma k'd Rav Papa. Maybe there it's like Rav Papa said that the reason is because the bo pritzim v'chilaluhu, they rendered it hefker, and therefore that's why they were able to answer it. The Ella says the Gemara, we know it mikalim. We know it from the utensils. The Chsiv, this is what we already learned by the Melech Ochaz. The Chsiv, it says, V'eskol HaKelim, as we welcome in Richard Rosenzweig. Richard, it's good to have you as the 31st Zoomer of the evening. Richard, we are on Nun Daled Amid Beis at the top line of Nun Daled Amid Beis. Ve'ela Mekalim, we learn out from the utensils of Ochaz. When Ochaz did all kinds of idolatry, the Chsiv es kol HaKelim asher is niach HaMelech Ochaz b'malchusai, the King Ochaz polluted in his empire, b'maloi, when he trespassed. Heichanu, if you remember, we said Heichanu means they hid them, Vikdashnu, and they sanctified others in their place. V'amamar Heichanu shegonzam, they hid them, Vikdashnu shekdashnu acherim taktein. But how could they be prohibited? It belongs to Klal Yisrael. But the answer is since Achad did a Maisa with it, Elakaven David Bil Maisa Itzralu Hachanami over here when he with the animal that was crouching, came in Sha'asa Maisa, even though it wasn't his, Asra. Ki Asra Avdimi Yam Rabbi Yechanan, Afal Pisha Amru, even though we learned you can't, if you bow down to ground, to the earth, you don't asr it. But if you dug in it pits, trenches, and caves, Avoda Zara, you did a maisa asra. If you bow down to a animate object, a living animal, lo asran. But asan chalipin lavedis kechavin. But if you traded it for a getchka, asran. In other words, if you switched an animal for an idol, the animal becomes asr. Ki asr Rabban Amar pliga bar Rabbi Yishmael bar Rabbi Yosef Rabbanan. Chad Amar chalifin asran. That which you exchange is asr. But chalife chalipin. If, let's say, you exchange the animal for an idol, and then you exchange that animal for a chesed, the chesed is mutar. V'chad amar afilu chalifei chalifin nami asurin. Says the Gemara, my time at mandi amar chalifei chalifin asurin. What's the reason of the mandi amar that the exchange of an exchange is asur? Amar kra v'hayisa chayrim kamayu. It should be banned like it. And we darshan v'yisa kol she'ata mahaya. Anything that comes in existence through it, mimenu harayu kamoy. V'idach amakra, who? Only it, v'loy chalipe chalipin. Not the exchange of the exchange. V'idach hahu mebaylei l'mu'utei arla v'kloy akeren. It comes to exclude arla and kloy akeren. Shem machron. If you sell the fruit of the first 3 years, b'kiddush b'demeim, and you use that money to be mekadesh a woman, mikudeshes. V'idach, he doesn't need the who for that. All of klei akarim like tzricha miuta. Why? What's the reason? Let's see, who's not muted? Okay. Sure, Shmuel, you're not muted.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can't we compare this to an Estan Zona or Mashir Kella? It's very similar.
It's not, because here we're talking about an exchange of an exchange.
I thought over there exchanges and exchanges were also issues.
No. You got your Zionists mixed up. Now, I'll tell you, Canadians.
They are backwards.
Says the Gemara, V'idach, the other one says, we don't need it for Arla Klaya Karn. Why? We have a rule that Shnei Ksuvin Abon Ke'echad Ein Melamden. If 2 psukim teach us something, you can't learn it out to anywhere else. Because if it was supposed to be learned out for the whole Torah, it would have only said it in one place. When it says it in 2 places, it means only these 2 places and nowhere else. And the Gemara says that Avoda Zara and Shvius are the only 2 places, not Zaina. Avoda Zara and Shvius are the only 2 places where there's an idea of Chalife Chalifin. Says the Gemara, let's see it inside. The Havilu Avodas Kechavim Shvius Shnei Ksuvin Abon Ke'echad are 2 psukim that teach us the same thing. The Kol Shnei Ksuvin Abon Ke'echad Ein Melamd. Avodas Kechavim Hada Amran. Avoda Zara, like we said. Shvius Dichsiv Ki Yovel Hi. It is the Jubilee. Kodesh Tia Lochem. Now, Ma Kodesh Teifes is Damav, just like Hektish. If you redeem it, the Kedusha passes on to its money, V'aser, Af Shvius Teifes es Damer V'asura. If you buy produce of Shvius, the Kedusha of Shvius goes on to the money. Ima Kodesh Teifes es Damav V'yotze L'chulin. I might say, just like Kodesh, when you redeem it, the money gets the Kedusha, and the original Kedusha goes out L'chulin. Af Shvius Teifeses es Domer V'yotze L'chulin, and it goes out L'chulin. Talmud Loimer Tia means V'havyosatei. It already always stays in its original state. Now, this doesn't mean that every part of the chain of redemption of Shvius all remains asur. we'll see it's only the first and the last in the chain. Haketzad, lokach b'perish shvias basar. If you buy with fruit of shvias meat, eilu ve'elim is barim b'shvias. Both of these has to be destroyed when there's no more food left out in the field. Lokach b'basar dagim. If you take that meat and buy fish, yotza basar, the kedusha shvias goes off on the meat and nichnas l'dagim. But remember, it still stays on the original fruit. B'dagim yayin, you took the fish and bought wine. Yotzu dagim nichnas yayin. B'yayin shemen, you took the wine and bought oil. Yotzu yayin and nichnas shemen. Haketzad, achroin nitfus, the last one has kedusha shvias, b'shvias, and the original fruit also have it. Uperi atzmai asa. V'idach, and the other one who says that we need heat to be mamayit, Kasavar shnei ksuvin abon ke'echad malamdin, we would learn it out, even though it's two psukim, and therefore, since that's the case, therefore it's needed hu limutinu, to exclude it. Now, a little bit of a garita to end the evening. Nice way to end the evening. Shalues as a Canaan Beraim. They asked the elders in Rome, Im ein ritzaynai ba'avedis kechavim. If God doesn't want idolatry, lama einam avatla. Why doesn't he destroy it? He's all powerful. Amru lahen ilu l'davar she'ein tzarich la'olam bai hayavdim. If they only worship things that the world didn't need, hayam avatla, he would destroy it. He would zap it. But hariyein oivdim l'chama levano l'kechavim l'mazalas. They worship the sun, the moon, the stars, and the constellations. Should he destroy his world because of fools? So then they ask the logical question. So then let him not destroy the sun and the moon, but let him destroy the other stuff that's not needed. Let him destroy what the world doesn't need. And leave the sun, the moon, and the constellation and the stars. See, so the Zakanim said, you know what you would say then? You would say, you know why he doesn't destroy the sun and the moon? Because it's too strong for him. Then Hashem would strengthen the worshippers. They would say, Teidu shein Elohus. You should know they're gods, because he couldn't destroy that. He destroyed the other stuff. Tana Rabbanan will elaborate a little bit on this. Shalu philosophenes as a Canaan beraimi. Im Elohechem ein ritzaynai ba'oiv kechavim. If your God is displeased with idolatry, why doesn't he destroy it? So Amalahem ilu l'davar she'ein olam tzarich. If they worshipped only nonsense, but they worship the moon, the sun, the moon, stars, and the constellations. Should Hashem destroy his world because of these fools? Hashem lets the world go as its custom. And the fools that sin, they're going to be punished. Davaracher, Harigazel saw Shelchitin, if a person stole a saw of wheat, V'halach v'zarin b'karka, and he planted it in the earth. Really, Hashem should make it that it shouldn't grow, because they stole it. Dinu shalai titzmach. But the Rabbeinu Shalom doesn't interfere with nature. Elo'ilam k'minig nayig, v'haylach, v'shaitim shekilkalu, and the fools that sinned asidin l'itasadin. Davaracha, harisha ba'al eishes chaveiroi, if somebody impregnates a married woman, really Hashem shouldn't allow her to give birth. Dinu shaloi tisaber, because it's adultery. Hashem lets nature run its course. V'shaitim shekilgu asidim lead to din. V'hainu damer Reish Lakish Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Loi dayan l'risham she'oisin sela shali pumbi. It's not enough that they take my minting device, because I made man in my tselem, and I gave man the ability to mint that tselem and have a child. It's not enough that the wicked take my seller and use it with abandon. They use it illegally. They force me to bring that birth to fruition. Shal Philosoph Echad Esrav Gamliel, Kasib B'Seiraschem, it says in your Torah, Ki Hashem Alikecha Eish Oichlahu, He's a consuming fire, Kel Kanoi. He's a vengeful God. Now, why does he only take vengeance on the worshippers and not on the idols? He doesn't take vengeance on the idols. He has a son. He raised a dog. And he called the dog by the name of his father. When he swore, Omar b'chaye kelev abba, by the life of my father the dog. Kishishama Amelech, when the king saw how the son was calling the dog by his name, Al mihu kayis. Who did he get angry at? Al benu kayis or al kelevu kayis? Does he get angry at the son or at the dog? Obviously the dog didn't do anything wrong. So here also, the sticks and stones didn't do anything wrong. Amalai, so he got the philosopher got angry. So you're calling our God a dog? There is some mamish in our God. Amalai, what do you see that there's mamish in your God? There was a fire in our city, and the whole city burnt down, and the church with the idol didn't burn down. Medina, that a province committed treason. When he does battle, does he do it with the living or the dead? So he doesn't bother burning down the church which is dead. You're calling the God a dog dead. Why doesn't God get rid of it? If they worship only nonsense, they worship the sun, the moon, stars, and constellations. They worship wells, or well springs, or legayos and valleys. Should he destroy his word because of the fools? Okay, we're going to stop over here, and we will take this up in Yirtzeh Hashem Tuesday at 8:30, when we will be, as Hashem, right on the daf. We're going to do now the Mishnah Yomis, so don't go anywhere.